This is the last time we'll be meeting.
You don't listen, do you? You just ask the same questions every week. How's your job? Are you having any negative thoughts? All I have are negative thoughts.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of Modern Life, people. Hope you're all doing well. Today's main topic, we're going to be talking about the new movie, The Joker. Everyone's talking about it. We saw it a few days ago, and I think we need to talk about it. I am joined today by Stacy.
Hi.
Tabby is not with us today. She has not seen the movie. I don't think she has any interest in seeing the movie.
I don't think she'd like the movie at all, so I think that she would be...
Yeah, I don't think she would like it.
No, she would hate it.
Why would she hate it?
Because it doesn't have any social... It has a very negative social impact in terms of what it highlights and its ability to highlight nihilism, I think it's pronounced.
Interesting.
Which is like a extreme skepticism maintaining that nothing in the world has real existence and that all religious and moral principles are meaningless and life is meaningless. Which, with the amount of like shootings and things that we've been dealing with, it's just a very like interesting way to bring about and an interesting time to bring about a movie like this.
Well, yeah, I mean, let's just dive right into it. I know we usually do Modern Thoughts, but we're recording this at 10:30 at night, and I just don't really feel like it.
No.
I've had a slightly weird day dealing with currently our place is getting sold, the place that we're renting, so that's always fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's just dive right into this movie. I don't know, people either seem to love it or hate it. Is it weird that I'm like in the middle? Is it weird that I don't have a hot take?
No.
I think in some regards it's really good, and then in some regards it's really bad. I
give full credit to the acting in this movie. Like, I really have no bad thing to say about any acting in this movie. Like, I think it's the only thing that carries the movie for me.
You got Joaquin Phoenix, Robert De Niro, and then I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think it's Zazie Beetz. She was the girl from Deadpool 2 as well. Which that's a pretty cool name.
Yeah.
That's just like if you're listening to some music and it's some Zazie Beetz you got going on there.
Yeah. She's pretty stylish in that sense too.
No, the acting is
spot on.
Yeah, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix, he could win an Oscar. I'd be okay with that. He was pretty phenomenal.
No, he did phenomenal. I just think that I didn't like the take on the backstory, so I have a hard time liking this movie based on that.
So obviously there's going to be some spoilers, so go watch the movie first and then listen to this.
Yeah.
So as far as the backstory, let's run through it.
Okay.
So he's mentally ill. He's been in it's not Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, no, it's
movie.
Arkham.
No, it's the Arkham State Hospital. They named it in this movie. It's where all the crazy people are. You find out he was there at one point. His mom was there at one point. And yeah, he's this mentally ill guy
who has like this uncontrollable desire to laugh in situations where it's very uncomfortable. So whenever he's uncomfortable, he starts laughing.
It's almost like laughing Tourette's, right?
Yeah, kind of.
You do find out there is a history of not hallucinating. What's the word I'm looking for? Just imagining things.
That's hallucinating.
I guess just hallucinating life events, making stuff up that you think is happening.
Which that ties in quite well with Joker because he has, from everything I've researched and everything I've seen in the past, like his backstory is very, other than how he became Joker, which is usually like fell into a thing of chemicals. Like other than that, it's always like,
which Joker is that?
You didn't know that? That's like
one of
the main stories is like how Joker came about. Chemicals? Yeah, he was like fighting. He was like, there's like several different versions on how.
Well, the cool thing with Joker is that there isn't really one official backstory for him.
No, he makes fun of it himself in several movies where there's like this joke that he doesn't even know himself what his backstory is because he's so delusional.
Is there any other character that there seems to be this thing with the Joker where you can take liberties in creating his backstory, and I don't know, like you can't do that with Superman. You definitely can't do that with Batman.
I think it's because it's many
like built
because
into
even
the character.
Well, even the comic book and the original story, it was like he made fun of his backstory. Like he would say it was one thing in the same comic. Like he would say it was one thing and then he would say it was something else, and he would laugh about it. Like I don't even know.
Yeah.
So I think that has given people like this idea that it's the most common thing that you see is that he, like I said, he fell into a vat of chemicals, like trying to like rob this chemical plant.
I don't even think anyone counts that as an official. It's just another like story.
No, it's like the most common. Like even I mean, it's even in the like the newest like Suicide Squad. That's why she jumped into the vat of chemicals.
We don't count Suicide.
Yeah, I know that, but regardless, it's actually like it's the backstory in almost all the Batman movies. It's been in like a couple of the like most of the comic books. It's like the most known one, but they don't talk about why he was crazy in the first place. Because sometimes he's like he was already crazy and already like vigilant. That just explains like his facial disfiguration.
Okay, so my problems with the movie, I think. Okay, so the biggest one is there's so Todd Phillips is a director, and there's an interview with him. I want to say it was the LA Times where they basically ask him, like, is Joaquin Phoenix's character is this like the origin story for the Joker? And he even himself, Todd Phillips, in the interview, he goes, I don't know. Like, he could be, but he could also just be the guy that then inspires the real Joker. And I think right there, it kind of summarizes part of the problem with the movie, where it's like, what exactly, they're not making a sequel to this. It's not tied into like the bigger DC universe movies. It's like this standalone piece. And it almost feels to me like it's like this generation's Taxi Driver in a way, right?
Oh yeah, that's what pretty much like all the movies are basing it to.
The thing is, everyone's so obsessed with superhero stuff right now that the whole Joker, Batman thing, it seems to be just a vehicle to make that kind of Taxi Driver movie because, as long as you make it sort of superhero, supervillain related, people are going to go see it because that's what everyone is into right now.
Yeah.
I feel like this is almost like a better movie without all this, I mean, there isn't any superhero stuff really, but there's a tie into the Batman origin story later on in the movie. Like, is this like almost a better movie if you just remove all that stuff? If you don't know this is like related to Batman and the Joker and all that?
Well, I think my biggest problem is that I don't believe that this back origin story can turn into the Joker that I have seen through like all the Joker movies. Like my biggest problem with this movie is that they make him stupid. Like he is not an intelligent human being in this movie. Like I don't think he's like stupid, I guess I should say, but I don't believe that he's a mastermind. Like there isn't like he's just kind of what's the word?
Well, let's talk about like the Dark Knight, which is my favorite version of the Joker. I think it's a lot of people's. Like, let's just talk about the beginning scene with the bank heist. Like, you can't. Joaquin Phoenix's character in this movie, there is no way he would ever pull off something. Like, he just doesn't have. That's
my point. He wouldn't be any of the Jokers. Like, if you look throughout all of them, even when he's just being like like even in the 1950s when they turned him into like this goofy like whatever character, like he was still intelligent, like he was still getting away.
He's intelligent and also he's funny. And
yeah,
this Joker is neither of those things. It's
a sinister joking, but it's still funny.
This Joker is like just mentally disturbed. Like he's not even funny, in no way, shape, or form. Yeah. But now, having said that, in defense of that, so there is you can either say this is the Joker origin story or it's not, and this guy maybe just inspires the Joker later on, which in that case, I mean, it doesn't matter if he's smart or funny or anything like that, right? Also,
but then what's the point of the movie? I thought it was the origin of Joker.
Do whatever you want with the maybe this is just a way to kind of reinvent what the Joker is. Like, it's just a different version of the Joker. We're so used to one version. This is just a different version of it, right?
Then I just believe that this guy's going to be like a mass, he might be a killer, but he's going to get caught. He's not.
Well,
there's
he does get
nothing
caught, like,
special.
right
I'm just saying, like, there's like nothing special about him. Like, he's just a mentally ill person who basically goes on a rampage, and that's what I got from him. And the points that they were trying to get across, like that society is
but
like,
he doesn't even really go on a rampage. He kills.
Yeah.
So he kills those guys. There's a scene in the movie where there's 3 like Wall Street guys basically, and they start beating the crap out of him, and he ends up killing those 3 guys, and then he kills Robert De Niro in the end.
Yeah, and he kills.
That's all he does. Well,
and he kills those 2 other clowns, because that's the most brutal scene.
Well, no, he kills one of them.
The other one. The other one he lets leave. Yeah, you're right.
And then...
Okay, so you want to hear another flaw that I have with this movie?
Yeah, please, go for it.
Okay, so in this movie, it's supposed to be like from what it looks like by the cars and stuff in the movie and the title. It's supposed to be based in like 1970s, 1980s, right? Mm-hmm. Do you remember the scene where they're playing his shot in his comedy? Like, that's how he gets on?
Yes. So he's in a comedy club, and someone's recording him.
Yeah, and it's played on TV, and it's played like this is before YouTube era.
Yeah, but someone could have a like video camera in the back of the room.
It's like really unlikely that he would be in a comedy, like there's like low B and then there's like high A. You know what I mean? Like there's different stores of comedy.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't be in the one that they're filming showing this like guy. Like it's not like, I don't know. There's an aspect of it that's very YouTube-y, and I feel like originally the movie was supposed to take place later and they changed it and put it later and they left that in. I don't have a gripe with
that, because whoever runs that comedy club, they could know someone in the entertainment industry, and then it's just like, hey, like, look at this guy that came in, like he totally bombed. And then like makes it on like a late night show.
I just feel like there was like an era of like where things weren't being filmed as easily as they are now. Like I just feel like they played on to how things are viewed now versus then, and like in the 70s and 80s. It was like it wasn't common for people to be filming things. Like it was more it's not a thing. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, oh, I'm gonna film every set. No, that's not. It didn't happen back then.
Didn't happen like that.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, before my day. So, but my point being is that like it didn't really work for me because I know that wasn't the case. Like they were not filming like that back then. You know, today it's like everything's being filmed, but back then, no, you were anonymous when you went to those nightclubs and ask any comedy, like any comedian that's from those eras, because they talk about it like all the time about how the difference is between bombing then and bombing now.
The movie. So the movie is it's super dark. I think there's one time I remember they throw in some comedy is when he kills. There's a clown in the beginning of the movie that gives him a gun, and then he ends up getting fired for having that gun. Joaquin Phoenix's character. And then the guy who gave him the gun, it's like he's like this big clown, comes to his house later on to ask about the gun, and Joaquin Phoenix kills him in his apartment. But there's a second like small person, midget clown with him, and who's like one of the only people that's ever been nice to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, and so he lets that guy live. But there's a scene where he kills the big clown, and then the little clown is trying to get out, and he like can't reach the door lock. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Which was really funny, but it's also like it comes right after this super disturbing scene.
See, that didn't bother me at all, and I think it has everything to do with the fact that to me worked with his comedy. Like Joker is always very sinister in his comedy. Like that would be something.
No, I'm not saying I have a problem with that.
Oh, okay.
I'm saying that's like really the only funny.
Yeah,
I'm saying this character isn't really funny, but that's like the only scene where I think he has any humor at all. My problem, I think, is that like he inspires this entire riot at the end of the movie, but he has zero charisma, zero like
throughout the movie, everyone is uncomfortable around him, and all of a sudden, like, all these people want to follow him.
Right.
And I didn't buy that either. And there was also like scenes where you see that, like when he's dancing and stuff, but I never see that confidence before. I don't know. It's something about it didn't work for me. And I think the duality
he's
of the
gaining
character.
confidence throughout the movie, right?
Yeah, but I still don't see him as someone that like anyone would follow. I don't know.
Weird side note, in that scene where he's dancing down the steps, he's kind of like gaining his confidence. He's in like full suit, right? I think he just got the gig for that Tonight Show with the Robert De Niro show. There's a weird sequence there. So it's a pretty iconic. I mean, I have a feeling it's gonna be like one of these iconic shots they're gonna show at the Oscar highlight reels 80 years from now. Is like Joaquin Phoenix dancing on those steps, right? It's a pretty cool shot. And the music playing in the background, I don't know if you remember the music. I can't really sing it on here, but he's dancing to that, and then all of a sudden the music cuts off and goes back into like the Joker movie theme music. There's this weird music transition, which I don't even know if I don't know. I like, I pay attention to music a lot, so it's just a weird thing. There was just a very strange music transition. Like if you go, if you haven't seen the movie yet, or if you're going to see it again, I would pay attention to that. I thought that was super odd. But then the other thing, there's a lot of people now getting upset because the main song when he's dancing down the stairs, it's this rock anthem. It's like Rock Anthem number 2 or something it's called. I don't have it. I don't have the name in front of me. It's a super famous song. It's one of these songs they always play in like sports stadiums. It was written in the 70s by this guy that turns out in like 2015 or 16, he got like put in jail for being a pedophile, basically. So now there's all these people who are like, you need to take that song out of the movie because that artist is a bad person, and he's like getting royalties from you putting his music in the movie. And I'm like, I listen to a lot of music. I didn't even know that guy was, this is a song from the 70s. This guy just got arrested for being a pedophile, and like, it's just all this like cancel culture thing. You get what I'm saying?
I get what you're saying.
I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I'm like, you can't know if you can't like check everyone's background that's associated with a movie. No, like, is that a valid thing to be outraged about? You're gonna check every single musical artist?
No, but these days that's what's occurring. But the person that made the movie should be looking at that stuff, like, to an extent.
The thing is, this song has been playing in sports stadiums for like 40 years. All of a sudden now we give a shit because of this movie. Nobody's saying take it out of sports stadiums. Everyone's just freaking out about taking it out of the movie.
Well, they're freaking out because the last time like one of these Batman movies came into play, like, it incited violence, and so like
right.
There's a lot riding on this movie in the sense of like. And then on top of that, this movie was very drawn, like, is very relatable to people that would want to create that kind of violence.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we were going to the movie theater, we went to the Universal City Walk theater, and yeah, there was like a ton of extra security. This was on opening weekend.
Yeah, no, it
last weekend, yeah.
A lot of people were scared that
okay.
this, and then after watching the movie and then going back and looking at some of the like articles, I was like, wow, like I didn't remember that occurred like with the movie. And
yeah, I think it was for Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah. And
the Joker isn't even in that movie.
Yeah, but it's not the point.
But I was living in Colorado at that time. I remember it because the shooting happened at a Colorado movie theater. I remember that pretty clearly.
Well, this movie is relatable to people that would want to do something like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's super relatable. Like, that's the whole point of the movie, is like to be relatable to people that like feel awkward and want to like take revenge on society. You know what I mean? Like, it was a weird choice. There's a lot of weird aspects of it that I don't know.
My biggest gripe with the movie, and like I do like this movie, I'm just kind of listing off things that I noticed that maybe could have been better. So there is a tie-in into the Batman origin story. Let's see, where do we start with this? The mom used to be like a maid basically for Bruce Wayne's dad, I forget what his first name is. Let's call him Mr. Wayne. She used to work for him, and then she went like mentally insane. But she has all these old letters, from the Wayne family, and she's like constantly writing them letters asking for like financial help and all this. And Joaquin Phoenix character is made to believe by his mom that the Wayne guy is his dad. Like she got knocked up when she was working there, right? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, there's a insinuation, but it's never stated.
It's like an insinuation that he's related to the Wayne family, and you later find out that's all a complete lie. But so there's this kind of cool tie-in with the whole Batman thing, and then at the very end of the movie, when all this chaos is happening in the city, you see that iconic scene of, Bruce Wayne and his parents like exiting the theater, and they're going down the dark alley, and like what's about to happen, like because we've all seen it a million times. But the movie then decides to show that whole the parents getting shot and the mom's pearl necklace flying, and it's like I've seen this so many times. Like I think everyone their mom knows the Batman origin story at this point. It just seemed unnecessary in the Joker movie to have that in there.
I feel like there was a lot of scenes that were added later.
It felt to me like they had this movie, and then some Warner Brothers executive came in and was like, "Well, we need to show the Batman origin story because we need to do that for every related Batman movie somehow." I just feel like you're making an R-rated movie that's completely for adults. Like all you need to show me is them running out of the theater, and you see the guy with the clown mask on the side, like, and I know what's gonna happen, right? That's all you gotta show me. Like, you don't have to show the whole. Like, how many times do I have to see Bruce Wayne's parents getting shot? Like, we all know what happens.
Yeah.
So it's like, and then, you will see that scene, and then it goes right back to, like, the whole Joker story. And it just, there's a couple of these little sidetracks during the movie that I just really don't feel like need to be there. The other main one is Joker he has a girlfriend during, like, the first half of the movie. And then you find out, when Joker finds out that his mom hallucinates all this stuff, you then find out it runs in the family. So he's been hallucinating this whole relationship with his neighbor down the hall. And the second you realize that, you realize that when he walks into what he thinks is his girlfriend's apartment, and she's like starts freaking out. She's like, "Oh my God, like you're in the wrong apartment. Like, aren't you the neighbor down the hall?" And you realize, oh, he's hallucinating all this stuff too. But then the movie proceeds just from that line, just from her saying, "Wait, like, aren't you the neighbor from down the hall? Like, you're in the wrong apartment." You know right there that he's hallucinating all this stuff because you just found out his mom has been hallucinating all this stuff. You're like, okay, so it runs in the family. But then when that happens, the movie then proceeds to show again all the scenes that we had before with the girlfriend, and it shows them again, and then shows right after it the same scene, but it's just him there, like the girlfriend was never there. And so it shows like 4 scenes in a row like that, just hammering home the point that this relationship never happened. And it's like, just by the dialogue of the movie alone, I know that you don't have to like then. It's just making it like foolproof.
I know, but I think they're catering to a younger audience.
I get that, but that's what I'm saying. Where it's like I feel like someone made this really like a movie for actual grown-ups, which like never happens anymore. Like where you can, like I'm smart enough to connect the dots. Like I'm listening to the dialogue of the movie.
Yeah.
But then again, some like guy at Warner Brothers was like, well, it's not clear that like you have to make it crystal clear for every idiot out there that he's hallucinating it. And it's just those little things where it's like you're making a movie for grown-ups, just make it for grown-ups. I don't know. That's just my thing. I understand where they're coming from because they need to appeal to the widest audience possible. And they're going to like make $1 billion with this movie worldwide probably. So.
Yeah, I get it. And I agree.
It's almost like insulting at times where it's like, well, the dialogue is so crystal clear that he's hallucinating. You don't have to then like show me for another 30 seconds that he's hallucinating. Like I get the point. Like just get on with the movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I give this movie like a solid 8 or 9 out of like it's a really. I think it's at the end of the day, it's a really good movie. No. I mean, you didn't like it that much?
I think that it did not have definition in certain areas.
Definition?
I think that it had no set goals into what it wanted to accomplish at certain points.
Well, and that goes back to my point earlier with the interview the director gave, where it's just, well, maybe he's a Joker, maybe he's not. And it's like, well, then what is this movie?
Well, I mean, can we talk about what the director did before this?
Yeah, I forget. What else did he do? I know I've seen it.
He did all the comedy movies, the bro comedy movies with...
he did the Hangover movies.
Yeah, all the Hangover movies. And then, like, Society basically was like, you're not making any more of these movies because we're too, sensitive these days for those type of bro movies. And so then he came up with the Joker. And I don't know.
What happened?
Yeah, that's just my take.
That's your take on it?
And a couple other people and like articles that I read. But I'm just saying, like, I don't know. There was just like a lack of motivation.
For the guy that made the Hangover movie to make this thing, I think that's a pretty big leap, no?
The Hangover movies are brilliant.
What?
You ever seen those movies?
Oh, God.
I mean, they're ridiculous.
Yeah, the first one is like fine.
That's the one I'm talking about. I'm not really talking about the second and third one. I'm just talking about the first one.
Yeah, it's a fun movie, yeah. I'm just saying to go from that to... Yeah, it's like you're missing... What was the point of all this?
Yeah, that's where my issue is with the movie.
But I'm saying from...
I'm like, you got a very dark movie. You got like a point of... I just don't know what the point is.
I'm just saying, jumping from Hangover to this, where, I mean, just compare like the cinematography, and I mean, I think it's like, that's a good for him. Like, that's a big directorial leap for him to make, no? This is like way more a piece of art than the Hangover movie. Yeah, it is. Oh my God, I didn't know you like the Hangover movies so much.
I like the Hangover
Revelations
movies.
On the Modern Life podcast.
I know that they're like ridiculous, but at the same time, like, yeah, I like the Hangover movies. I thought that they were hilarious. I thought that they were well played. And I think that the cinematography in those movies are actually quite
I don't know
beautiful.
if we can really compare the Joker and the Hangover.
The cinematography in The Joker was phenomenal. I will give it that.
It's a really nice.
I think the acting.
Movie.
I think the acting was phenomenal. I was slightly entertained through the entire movie.
The movie is good.
I just think that there was
good.
The music was good. I just think that there's some plot issues.
I
don't like the direction that the movie. Like, I don't like this take.
You like this? So if we're saying this is the Joker origin story, you don't like the take on the Joker.
And if it's not, then this movie's even more stupid in my opinion.
But
because I'm like, you just made a movie to tell me about the guy that inspires the Joker. But I'm saying
like, if it's not, then this is a better movie without the whole Joker Batman thing, right? It's a better.
Yes, I will say that if it didn't have the whole Joker and it was just a movie about a like deranged sociopath coming to part, I think that I may have enjoyed it a little bit more, but I still don't think that they
with that you're missing
like a point
at the end, right?
Yeah, like there's like a point that I'm missing. Like, what's the point of this?
The other thing that's super open-ended is, so halfway through the movie, as I said, you realize he's, some of these life events he's hallucinating, like the thing with the girlfriend, and there's a scene where he's kind of hallucinating being in the audience of that Robert De Niro late night show that's in the movie. So there's some things throughout the movie where, it's not real what's happening. And it's not, when you get to the end of the movie, there's this big riot and there's all these kind of Joker followers, all these people wearing masks, and they kind of are like worshiping him. And then all of a sudden you're back in the Arkham State Hospital, the Arkham Asylum, and he's been arrested again, and he's talking to the same, I don't know, is it a therapist? I don't know.
Psychiatrist.
Yeah,
she's able to describe medicine, so she's a psychiatrist.
So he's talking to the same psychiatrist he was talking to earlier in the movie. And so you don't see him getting arrested, right? So the whole thing is then, well, did he hallucinate most of this whole like killing people thing? Is this all just a fantasy and he's just been like stuck in this hospital? Like it's totally open-ended where there's like maybe 3 different possibilities.
I hate movies that do that.
Like he could have hallucinated the whole thing. It could have just been that he got arrested at the end and now he's in the state hospital. I mean, there's definitely different possible endings however you want to look at it. So that whole thing is open to interpretation, but you're still missing.
I mean, there's some takes in the comic books that the Joker is like the duality of his nature is actually that there's two twins playing the same character. Mm-hmm. So they could also be doing a take on that like the one that actually killed Wayne was the twin, and he didn't know he had a twin, and this is like the other side. I mean, there's so many different takes you can do on this, but that's, I think, where my issue is. Like, unless they plan on making another one, like, you left so many open-ended questions that, like, it was an incomplete movie, in my opinion.
Well, that's the thing. So it doesn't even matter what you're trying to do. If this is the guy that inspired the Joker, if this is the Joker, whatever the hell you want to do with it. I just feel like if you're going through all the effort to then making this movie, like, you're not, at the end of the day, to this movie, you're not really adding to the lore of the Joker if I don't really know what is the ending you intended if it's so open-ended, right?
Yeah.
I think you had a really good opportunity here to, like, put your spin on the Joker. Like, just tell me what is going on. You put your own spin on it. You kind of add to the lore of the Joker, which is arguably, like, the greatest villain of all time, right?
He's in the top 10. Yeah.
And I'm not talking like as far as powerful or anything.
No, I'm just saying like he's been rated in the top 10.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's been rated in the top 10.
There's so many takes you can do on him, and he's like the most interesting villain. I mean, it just doesn't really get old, right? Yeah. And even the director, judging from the interview, doesn't even seem to know what it's just like, well, here's this thing, you interpret it yourself. Like, just tell me what you want to do. Like, what is your vision for this Joker?
That's what I mean by it's just like very like open-ended. Yeah. There's like no direction or point to it. And
I'm sure there's people that like it the way it is, where they're like, well, I can interpret it the way I want to, and then like that's the way I think the Joker is. I'm like, okay, fair enough.
It's a new take, but without any closure.
And to me, okay, have the movie open-ended, but then when someone is interviewing you and you're the director, like, I want to know what your interpretation is. To be like, well, I don't know. Well, you're the director of the movie. Like, I would like to know what your take on it is.
Yeah, but you don't know what kind of, like, maybe there is plans on making a second one and he's not allowed.
There is.
I'm just saying, like, you don't know.
Who knows?
He might be under some clause, like, where he can't release any information. Like, you never know.
True that. Yeah, I mean, it's a fine movie, but I have no interest in seeing it again. No.
So then how is it getting a 9 out of 10 if you have no interest in seeing it again?
No, because you can have good movies that you don't necessarily want to see again. Like, that's a thing.
Not for me, but...
Oh, really?
Yeah. If I like a movie, I can watch it like 15 times. If I don't like a movie, How many times have you seen Dark Knight?
Well, it's different.
How many times have you seen Dark Knight?
Seen a lot. Like 50 times.
Case in point. That's a brilliant movie.
Like American Psycho. That's a brilliant movie. I don't necessarily want to see. There's certain movies that are brilliant that I don't need to see again. For whatever reason, American Psycho came. Like, there's a bunch of other movies that I'm just not remembering at this time, but that is like a thing for me. Like, just because it's good doesn't mean I have to watch it again. Especially if it's like really kind of intense subject matter. Like, I feel like the Joker is at times.
It's a comic book movie. How is it intense subject?
Stacy has such a disturbed look on her face. Well, just as far as dealing with his mental illness, which the more I'm thinking about it, the movie doesn't really deal with it at all. It's just like, this guy's mental ill and he's crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't deal with it at all. It just says to go ahead and then it's just like, well, the world is
treating me unfairly, so I'm going to...
He gets off his meds and he goes and kills everybody. Like, it's not dealing with mental illness the way it's supposed to deal with mental illness. It doesn't... I don't know.
I don't know if you have to deal with it, but it doesn't really have anything to say. Like, your whole...
No, it's telling...
The whole subject matter of this movie is he's like mentally ill. So much revolves around that, but nothing is really said about it.
Well, that's the whole point. It's supposed to be relatable to people that are sensitive to that.
The only part where there's anything really said about it is when the city, New York, is cutting all these programs, and his psychiatrist, like her program is getting slashed,
which is an actual thing, and it really did happen.
Yeah. So then he's like, well, how am I gonna get my medication? And she's like, these people they don't care about people like you and I, which that idea kind of rolls bigger to the end of the movie.
Which is, I wish they would have like followed through on that better than they did, but they just really didn't, in my opinion.
Like, I would much rather see. We saw Ad Astra a few weeks ago. Like, I'd much rather go see that again. No?
Yeah, it was definitely, for me, it was a much more enjoyable movie.
Very underrated. I don't even think it did all that great in the box office.
It didn't. A lot of people were expecting like an action movie, and it like fell short in that area.
But then what did we see today? We saw a weird movie today. Remember?
Yeah.
The Man Who Killed Hitler and Then Bigfoot with Sam Elliott.
I like Sam Elliott. I'm a big fan, but this movie was just...
What was that?
I don't know.
The Bigfoot looked like some Halloween costume you would have gotten in the 70s.
Yeah, it was really bad. It looked like an alien movie, actually, like an alien costume with hair on it.
It was such a strange movie.
It was super weird. Like, show him dying, and then he like suddenly comes back to life like hours later.
It was like interesting, and then the second half it like just went off the rails.
Yeah, I just feel like they just like didn't have an ending, and were like, "Ooh, let's make this the ending."
Well, I like Sam Elliott in it.
No, Sam Elliott was phenomenal.
You know what kind of... This is my Sam Elliott voice.
Yeah,
he's like a more grown-up Matthew McConaughey with a giant mustache.
No,
I'm saying as far as the voice.
Maybe about the voice, but that's about the extent of their comparisons.
It's like if you took Matthew McConaughey's voice and then went like down 2 more octaves. No,
but Sam Elliott's voice has always been at that octave.
I know. I'm saying his voice is amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's very sexy.
He's a great actor.
Yeah,
like he was good in this movie.
Well, he's a character actor. Like that's what he does. He does character roles.
Yeah,
and he plays like the same character, but he always does a phenomenal job with it.
But I feel like that's kind of what he's been just pigeonholed. Like, he carried this movie just fine, no?
Oh, he's a phenomenal actor. He's got that one role down, but I've never really seen him in anything else to compare him to.
He's like Michael Caine. Like, Michael Caine used to star in movies, but now he's just like, you know, plays Batman's butler.
I feel like it's like the opposite. Like, Sam Elliott always has been a character actor, and then recently has gotten lead roles, but he was never a lead actor. He was never a lead character. He was always a character actor. He was always the only person that could play that role.
But even in A Star Is Born, he's not, you know, it's not even a lead role. He's not even on the screen all that much.
Again, character
but
actor.
He just always adds to the movie. Like,
yeah.
You could have it in one scene. It's just like gonna make it a better movie.
There's no one else that can play him because he does it best.
No one else can play Sam Elliott?
No one else can play that specific role that he gets in all of them. Like Tombstone, that's Sam Elliott. Oh, yeah. You know what I mean? But
no, that's not really a leading role. Like semi.
No, it's a co-star.
Yeah.
But he played it in Roadhouse. Like, it's the same role.
Right.
He's always the badass. And he's phenomenal in that role, but that's who he is.
Sam Elliott. Yeah, so back to Joker. What do you give it? What out of 10?
7 out of 10.
7, okay.
With the acting and the cinematography and the like music kind of carrying it.
Yeah.
But the whole idea behind it like kind of falls short for me.
Well, I think the story is really promising maybe for 3/4 of the movie, and then it just kind of
it's just like
falls
I feel
flat
like they,
a little bit.
Edited it wrong or like cut the script a little funky or added scenes in that didn't need to be there, and I don't know.
Or maybe they just didn't, if they're writing it with kind of a standalone movie in mind, maybe they didn't know where to take it in the end.
It's possible.
I don't know. Or unless it just acts as a pure origin story. I mean, it works as that, no? If it's just like, well, here's the Joker. He has the blood at the end of the movie, and he kind of makes that Joker smile on his face, right?
Yeah.
Like, is that...
No, because it works, but I just don't like the version that they're telling.
Sure. I agree with that. It's like not a very...
I just don't buy him as the Joker. That's my problem with the entire movie, is that I never, I don't buy him as the Joker. I think it's a phenomenal movie with the aspect of dealing with mental illness. I think there's a little bit of loss in actually having a finished outcome, but in terms of being a origin movie, I need to believe that he's going to become the Joker that he is, and I don't believe that right here. Now, maybe there's more development to come, or maybe it's a completely different development, but regardless, you're dealing with a character that's very well established in who he becomes. Maybe not his origin is established, but who he is pretty established.
I think we just got to the real root there of the movie problem, where it's like, if this is a true origin story, then we don't like this version of the Joker. And if it's not a true origin story, then like what's the point of the movie, right?
Yeah.
I think that is ultimately where it falls flat in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad it took us about 40 minutes to really see that through.
I've been saying that from the beginning.
I know. It really, if I phrase it like that, that really makes sense for me now. Like, I think that really kind of sums it up. No, I mean, I'm glad I saw it, but I am surprised like how successful the movie is, making like $1 billion worldwide.
Of course, he's like the #1 villain. Like, I mean, in terms of like DC and Marvel, like he is comic books like #1 villain. You know what I mean? Like people love him. That's why he's in so many. But that's and I mean, I know I said this earlier, but that is the weird thing where it's like, if you make this exact movie without DC Joker Batman attached to it, this movie makes no one is watching this movie in 2019. Like an R-rated, dark, psychotic, mentally ill guy in New York, but because the superhero stuff's attached to it, people go crazy for it. Yep. But that's what's in right now.
Thing is, if this thing's making $1 billion worldwide, like people are taking their kids to this in droves. Like you don't make that much money otherwise.
And hence why they had to dumb it down, babe.
Would you take your kids to this movie?
My kids?
Yeah.
Yeah, my kids are 13 and 15. Yeah, they can see this. Oh, 12 and 15. They can see this movie.
Take a 12-year-old to this? Where do you draw the line?
Honestly, my children, because of their father, has been watching these kind of movies since they were like way early, even before I approved of it. So they've seen worse.
You don't believe in sheltering movies from kids?
I don't believe that watching violence on TV is going to cause them to do violence. I think that there's something in them already that's maybe inspired by it, but that's something that you as a parent should be watching out for to begin with.
Unless you're also psychotic.
Yes. I mean, I'm not one to believe that if you play video games, it's going to inspire you to go and do a school shooting. Like, you obviously have something already in you that needs to be fixed or needs to be dealt with. And obviously it hasn't been.
Well,
I don't know.
That's a discussion for another day.
Yeah. Well, you asked it, so you got an answer. It's your fault.
I just realized the Pandora's box I opened up.
Yeah, I don't know why you asked me that question, and you can cut that out.
I just wanted a yes or no answer, okay?
Well, you're not going to get just an yes or no answer on a serious question like that. Sorry.
All right, well, that's it for the Joker. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you soon.
Murray, one small thing.
Yeah.
When you bring me out, can you introduce me as Joker?